Welcome to a new episode of our podcast, Lead the Future, Change the Conversation. An unedited, raw, honest conversation to create the future. I am Arjan Visser, futurist and your host. And join me when I chat with my dear friend Pieter Dekker on leadership, future, and peers. Pieter is the founder of Water House Peacemaking, a water engineer by training and a futurizing connector by trade. Pieter addresses water challenges worldwide, collaborating with governments, NGOs, businesses, and investors to bring harmony and prosperity to the world. Well, I need to add one personal thing because this is already a mouthful, but I got to know Pieter through the years as a real honest friend that is a strategic advisor in nature. He just calls you up nearly in the middle of the night to say, I just had this impression, like, what about this? Have you thought about that? And I could tell you, without filling the whole podcast, that has helped me to navigate as a business owner, um, my choices, my autonomy, and my future perspective. So I'm really pleased to introduce to you Pieter as my friend in our podcast. So, Pieter, welcome.
Well, thanks, Arjan. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
It's good to be here. Yeah. So when we immediately jump in, leadership, future, and peers, I have to think about years ago when you challenged me to take the futurizing coaching to the next level. And then you volunteered to be actually the first client to go through that one-on-one process of futurizing. How do you look back to that experiment?
I love that experiment. Um, back then I was in a job that was not really fulfilling, and I was like, what am I doing here? But why is this not fulfilling to me? What is in me that is actually in need of something else? Uh, like how can I describe that? And I couldn't put words to it. And so we went on a journey together, right? And to put words to the things that were deep on the inside that I hadn't discovered before. What I loved about the coaching track is that to me it was clear, like I knew some snippets of what I was passionate about and was good at, but I didn't really have an overall perspective of what it could entail. And through your help, I got really clarity on words on how just to combine all of those facets. So I'd say I've become a more integrated whole being through that. I mean, I was a whole being already, but now it was also in my mind and in my heart. So yeah,
Hmm.
that helped a lot.
Yeah, and you changed the jobs, and now you're running your own business. Um, so how important is that ongoing futurizing process for you?
For me, it's extremely important. I want to be in touch with what's happening on me on the inside and be true to who I am, and not someone like that has like a status, a certain status in the world, or like expectations of people put on him and just live up to that. Um, I believe that as a person, you need to be authentic, and that's I think one of my core values. Um, and because of that, you just need to listen. Okay, what is that inner, like the small inner voice telling me that what I should be involved in and actually want to be involved in?
Mm,
Because you can do so much. You can do so much. But what I've seen around me, that people that are not listening to that voice either get exhausted, they get burned out, they get annoyed, or they get frustrated and need to have some other stuff in this world happening that is not, I mean, beneficial for them or their families and surroundings. Yeah.
inner voice. So Inner voice, I think of a dialogue. Is that what you mean? Like connecting with your source of life? That is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. So that can feel and seem like very spiritual. I think on one hand it is. At the same time, I believe that's how we're all wired. So when I'm uh, dialoguing with myself, with my inner voice, um, I believe that when I hit the right tone, so to say, something starts to resonate in me, and I can feel, oh, this is the
Yeah.
thing that I should chase after, that
Hmm.
I should dive deeper into and discover what's behind this, and I leave other things that's just noise. And that resonating, that also feels like an extreme peace. You cannot really describe it. You cannot really put um, like even in very difficult situations, you can still experience that peace when something resonates. That you're like, oh, but I think this is something I should go after. And
Yeah.
I think it's also important to know that there there is selfish desires and selfless desires, and I think we need both of them. Like, I need to be able to live, right? So I need some security, I need freedom, I need health, that kind of stuff. At the same time, my desires are also, they need to be also outside of me to help the world or people around me or contribute to a bigger goal than just myself. Because otherwise, I believe we're just scoping our purpose too narrow. I believe we're all made for something bigger than just ourselves.
Mm. I like that what you said. Like there are selfish and selfless desires. Um, and I hear you connected actually to that process, inside process. Let's call it self-awareness.
Hmm.
That it's not just me. There is a connection with something bigger than me, than myself. Um, my creator. So it's a spiritual element, but there is definitely also like an emotional, relational element in it. But you can't disconnect the selfless to the self awareness and this whole process,
Yeah.
or
Otherwise, you get
else,
burned out,
yeah, and
or
and
someone else sacrifices you in the process.
well, and it's not your inner voice; it's what we tend to call in our mastermind the like. Then it's the external voice that introduces what is selfless, and before you know, you are sacrificed, or you have sacrificed your own dreams, desires.
Yeah.
So how does that go? Inner voice, external voice.
Well, I think we all are on a journey in this, right? And for me, the first time I think I realized these things were when um, you cannot start from the inside out. I believe you have to start from the outside in. So, for example, you have peers or your parents or your brothers and sisters tell you, okay, this is something that you're good at naturally. We see you pursue something in this field, or you should be something like this, or you should go into academia. For me, it was you're naturally good with tech and you love water and building stuff. So maybe that's an angle you should approach.
Yeah,
So that's, I think, also wisdom to listen to these voices that are close around you because they can help you guide, they can help you start on that path. But they shouldn't be the determining factor of what you're doing your whole life.
yeah,
um, so, and then at some point you start to realize, oh, but yes, this sounds good and this might be good, but this isn't 100% of what's actually in me. And that's when you realize that you are unique. that
Yeah.
there's no one that hasn't gone before you that was exactly like you, and there will no one be like you ever again. So you have to treat yourself differently than all the what others are saying about you. And once you realize that, that gives you permission to then start listening to, okay, what are my inner passions, desires, longings, but still connected to the outside world. Um, yeah,
So it is that small group of people that, in a healthy upbringing, definitely includes your parents, that you give actually permission to, in a way, inspire something that's inside of you,
yeah, they
by
ignite it. Yeah,
to ignite it. Yeah, it's like, and but then the flame, that intrinsic motivation, needs to be the flame,
yeah,
the
that's the
big
fuel to
fire
the
on the
flame. Yeah,
inside.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, and they can throw up some fuel. They can keep inspiring you, but they
yeah.
can't. If the motivation comes from the outside, it becomes already very scary, because probably sacrifice yourself. Um,
Isn't that the reason why people are burned out, like literally, because there's no more fuel coming from the inside, and there's like from the outside,
yeah.
people try to get it on, but it's not really working.
Well, I'm not the expert in that,
Me
but
neither, but
I tend to think you are right on that one. If the external input is what you try to live up to, physically, mentally, emotionally, then your own fire will be disconnected. Your
yeah,
own perspective, your own identity. So you have this deep inside clash.
yeah.
And I think the word burned out, in that perspective, how you use it, leaves not much room for debate. That is actually exactly what happens. Like, there is
Yeah.
no drive, there is no motivation connected to what physically exhausts you, so you're burned out.
So
Yeah.
our goal then should be to tend our own fires and be responsible to it.
Yeah, I think that is a great foundation of self-leadership. Like, own your own fire, and own your own input and output, and live up to it. Like
Yeah.
you said, like, there is only one version of you, and find out how to take ownership and nurture it, develop it, grow it, become the fullest version of it. Yeah, I think so. So I had the privilege to coach you, um, through that process of the future identity, authority, perspective, and how much do you value, not just based on that experience, but in general, about having coaches alongside peers in your life, and what role do you give them in your life?
I value it a lot, I'd say. Um, I mean, once you figure out, okay, this is something that I am good at, I want to contribute to the world, and want to dedicate my life to, it's kind of stupid to think that you can do that on your own.
Hmm.
First off, you're probably not an expert at that in that stage when you realize it. So you need to surround yourself with people that have gone before you that could explain you a thing or two that how that goes. But also, you don't know how you are wired is needed for that role, position, or whatever you're doing there. And that's where I think a coach can come in that can actually be the bridge between, okay, where do you want to go? And then how is that connected with how you are wired? And which steps can you then take along the way? And just not so much that he is defining it for you, you should define it for yourself, but he can help you define, okay, what does the road look like
Hmm.
that you can walk in. And I
Yeah,
think peers
the
are
challenge.
important as well, because what I've found is that peers um, that have a smaller vision that you have of yourself are not the people that inspire you to take the next step and take a bigger step and maybe go faster. It's only the peers that have maybe even a bigger vision of you than yourself
Yeah.
that make you really come alive and really run faster. Not because you want to do it for them, but it's they ignite something that is on already on the inside, already on fire, but the fire just yeah burns brighter in that sense. Yeah,
I like that. Surround yourself with peers that have a bigger perspective on you than you have of yourself.
yeah,
That goes more further than the language used like-minded people, like because they're not like-minded. You know, they have a
no,
different perspective of things around us and a bigger perspective of you than probably they have of themselves. So that's where the mutuality comes into play.
but it also requires you as a leader then to also think of them higher as they think of themselves, because you cannot just expect it from them and not be the person for them as well or for others.
Yeah. Yes. For me, this sounds like paradise. You know, I have those people in my life. You're one of them. Um, and it's that deep desire, like you wish everyone had them and wouldn't settle for less. So there's a in between invitation, like just reach out to us when you're listening to this podcast, and because you will benefit from having people in your life, peers like Pieter just described, peers that have a bigger perspective um, of you than you have of yourself. You know, that shifts your paradigm, that invites you to upgrade your mindset in a very organic, natural, but confronting way. So, Pieter, just want to thank you for sharing your heart, giving that insight, the dynamic. I will invite you back in the podcast. I like to know more and give others the opportunity to hear you speak more about what that means to keep going. Already in the introduction, I mentioned that you are a futurizing connector by trade, and this was all about the futurizing connector with yourself. So thank you for sharing that, and for those who listen, um, please use the link business revivalist/coach if you want to find out more what it means for you to have someone walking for a while alongside of you to actually help you find the fuller or fullest version of yourself. The link is also in the podcast description, and for those watching it, see the link come by once in a few seconds. So use this invitation, make use of it, connect, and let's talk more about what it means to have more clarity, more focus, the freedom of choice for where you are going and where you want to be in the near future. So,
Yeah,
Pieter, thank you for today.
thanks, Arjan. It will really change your life doing this. Yeah, coaching with Arjan. I mean, it has done for mine, but it will do for you as well. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Be close on that one. Thanks.